All right. Or maybe, let's say not just economics, maybe BCom also. Because I heard that there are some subjects related to the economics in the BCom, or maybe you might have minor as economics or elective as economics, right? All right. So first we will be talking about uh, uh, the ones who are doing BCom or who are BCom graduate, and then we will proceed to the economic honors graduate, right? So as far as the BCom interviews are concerned, anyways, you are expected to know the economic situation of the country, right? This is relevant to all or linked to all the persons, no matter which graduation stream you have, right? So you need to know the economic status of the country first when it comes to the, I would say start with your state, right? What economic problems your state is facing, right? Your state's contribution to the GDP, right? And there are some three, four other major factors when it comes to the state. And the best way to search for these factors or this data would be Wikipedia page, right? Search something related to the economic status of Maharashtra, of Rajasthan, and you will get a Wikipedia page, right? The page will have a lot of stats. Uh, it might or might not be advisable to learn all the stats, but I would say that some good stats like GDP contribution, right? Some top three, four states when it comes to the GDP contribution, right? Maybe when it comes to the HDI index, right? Maybe the literacy rate of your state, right? Uh, Literacy rate of your state. What's the major economic problems your state is facing, right? Have some opinions on all this, right? Because in an interview from non-economic guys, they are just looking for their thought process about country's problem. And even if you are not from economics, you don't have any links to the economics. For example, if an interviewer asks you some basic stuff on the economics, and you are able to answer that, that will give you brownie points, right? Because they might not be expecting anything in detail. But if you're putting some efforts to tell something in detail, that will obviously fetch brownie points, right? And since from the last 2 3 years, we have a global economic recession, or right, or maybe not uh, growth rate in the GDP from the last 2 3 years as expected, right? So in this case, even from the non-economic guys, they will be expecting like what's the economic status when it comes to the global problems, right? Why there is so much inflation? Then maybe the decision taken by the RBI MPC regarding the repo rates, right? Why repo rates are so high? Why government or MPC is not decreasing the repo rates? It's been like 1 year or 1.5 years since the repo rates have been constant, right? And how the repo rates is linked to the investment, or maybe not exactly repo rate, but any day anyone can ask you like how the interest rate is linked to the investment, right? What's the GDP of India, economic problems of India, unemployment status in the country, how can you reduce the unemployment status, right? All this stuff are very basic stuff, right? You don't need to have a very core economics knowledge to answer all this stuff related to the inflation, RBI, investment, how does the RBI work. And there have been some famous questions like who controls the money supply of notes, right? And who controls the money supply of coins, right? All the coins and the 1 rupee notes are in control of the government, and rest everything is controlled by the RBI, right? And there are four centers where RBI prints money, or through which RBI prints money. So why I'm telling all this stuff? Because over the years I have observed these questions to be sort of repetitive, right? The interviewers generally ask these questions, right? So you should have some knowledge about this, and maybe stuff related to there is one line written to it that whosoever bears or has this note, the government or the RBI bears to pay this much amount or something like that, right? Maybe some do some research about what exactly that means, right? Then uh, when it comes to the inflation, right, you should have some knowledge about CPI, WPI. What's the difference between these things, right? As far as the non-economics or engineer guys are concerned, uh, I would suggest that don't go for the core economic knowledge or the core economic terms, but have some very basic idea about, like, if you know that there are two types of mainly the two types of inflation, CPI and WPI, right? Or a little bit something around that, then it's good to go, right? For this, you can just have a look at the repository of the questions related to the economics, or maybe focus on the uh, national news related to the economics, banking sector plus RBI. Even if you are non-engineer, but you will be expected to know little things about how the economy is doing, how is the banking sector doing, right? What are the roles and responsibilities of the RBI, right? So this is very basic stuff that I believe everyone should be aware about. Now moving on to the BCom guy, right? BCom people. So Kushal has already shared a long list of questions, right? To be honest, I am not from BCom background, but I have heard from a lot of candidates who have converted or who have given the interviews of different B schools, right? About uh, that they do ask economics question, right? Maybe this portion, when compared to the entire interview, might take just 1 or 2 minutes of you, right? But the thing is, you are not any day sure that what they are going to ask, right? Maybe they are expecting something like, what is the substitution effect? What is the income effect? What is the given good, right? And if you don't know these things, but you have knowledge about other things, right, then it would not be helping you. So my only point here is that if you are going to cover the economics, cover all the areas, at least all the famous or the major areas. For example, so basically you can start dividing by microeconomics and macroeconomics. And again, macroeconomics, you basically have like RBI and government, or I would say fiscal policy and monetary policy, right? When it comes to microeconomics, it might seem more easy, more interesting for some of you. And here, mainly the stuff is related to the terminologies. This is for BCom guys. Right. I'm not expecting that you are having elective here. If you are having elective, then I believe that your preparation should be much better than these basic stuff. Example, in the microeconomics, what is the opportunity cost? What is the marginal benefit? What is the marginal cost? Right. Then what types of different markets are there? For example, perfect competition, oligopoly, monopoly. And famous question is, what is the difference between monopoly and monopolistic market? Example of these, right? And maybe they can give you some current situation, any state or any entities facing, and maybe they ask you to analyze what is going wrong or what is not going wrong. And another famous question is, what is your opportunity cost of doing an MBA, right? So you should have a clear sense, and generally the interviewers try to manipulate or try to confuse you to check your knowledge around the economics, because a lot of students get confused when I counter questions them related to the opportunity cost, marginal benefit, or the marginal cost, right? And when it comes to the GDP, you should have a little clarity about three different methods of the GDP and what India is following, how the data is collected when it comes to the GDP, right? Then I don't think except then this, right? You can be asked about the money multiplier. So basically, the crux of the thing is that first, check your mark sheet. If you have something related to the economic course or something, obviously the professors do go through your mark sheet. At least in the I am Calcutta, I am Lucknow, and I am Indore. They went through my mark sheet and they asked questions related to some subjects, right? Then how the tax structure. So basic questions would be the tax structure of India, right? Two types of tax structure, progressive and the regressive, right? These are very basic things. Then it comes to the balance of payment, forex market, right? So as far as the BCom guys are concerned, you should have basic knowledge about all this stuff, but your knowledge should not be limited to just this, right? I would always suggest to cover a lot of things in the detail, and just try not to be silent when you are asked some questions related to the macro policy, micro policy, right? When it comes to the monetary and the fiscal, right? Then when it comes to the fiscal, I believe by the time you are appearing for the interviews, there will be budget by the government, right? Then there will be revenue receipts, capital receipts, revenue expenditure, capital expenditure. Have a look at the budget, have a look at the data, because if you are backing your answers through the data, I think that holds much value than someone who is just globing around or explaining the basic terms. What I have observed when I used to take interviews is that if I ask someone what is fiscal policy, he or she starts explaining me about the fiscal policy. That is not the wrong thing, I would say, but it could have been better if you put some data, or if you put some context behind that, or if you relate that thing by what government is doing or something like that. That shows that you really know the stuff, and you are differentiating yourself from the other candidates, right? Then monetary policy, right? For, for example, just the basic question or the basic thought. For example, if the government wants to uh, put 5,000 crores rupees in the market, how would government be able to do this? Can someone tell how can government do this? If they want to increase the money supply by 5,000 crores, right? Then how the government would be able to do this? Anyone can take this up. Just unmute yourself.
Hi, I guess by issuing bonds worth 5,000 crores.
Yes, yes, that is the one way, by issuing bonds, like open market operations, right? So this is somewhat basic knowledge that you will be expected, right? That at least you should know how to inject the money in the economy, right? And again, the further questions can be the effects of putting so much money in the economy, right? What would be the effect on the investment? What would be the effect on the GDP? What would be the effect on the interest rate and every other thing, right? Then I think you should have little clarity over the ISLM. This would also help you to analyze the effects of anything and everything. For example, this is basic curve. For example, if the money supply is increased, the first effect would be a shift in the LM curve, right? So you can see that there will be fall in the interest rate and increase in the GDP, right? So this is like very basic things one should be aware of when it comes to the micro and macro. About there are hundreds of different topics. I might be able to provide you some, what I would say. Yeah, if you are from DU, right, I would say your first priority should be intermediate. Uh, okay, this would be for economic honors, guys, right? So what you can do is that you can just simply search on the Google about the main questions related to the economics, or the GDP questions related to the economics. You would get around 50 or 70 questions. And I think the majority of the things will be covered on those questions, right? And just in case, if you have statistics also, right, in your degree, because I'm hoping, or I'm thinking that majority of you might have statistics as elective or some sort of subjects related to the statistics. So I would say that statistics syllabus is very limited if you go by the approach of uh, arranging the syllabus in different areas. For example, when it comes to the mean, mode, median, right? These are very basic things, right? Even if you're not from statistics, they can be asked you questions related to the mean, mode, and median, right? But you need to know like what exactly they are asking related to the mean, mode, and median. Everyone can say that mean is the average, mode is the highest, the statistics with the highest frequency or something like that. Median is the 50 percentile or something, right? But this is not the type of questions they do ask generally, right? The questions can be like some disadvantage of the mean, some advantage of the mean. Same goes with the mode, same goes with the median. How all these three are related, right? If you want to analyze some college, or if you want to analyze some company, what statistics would you use, right? Then there will be different types of tests and different types of distribution. I think majority of the statistics revolve around this thing. Uh, as far as I remember, I read about five, six different types of tests, and along with these tests, You should have clear knowledge about when to use what test, right? For example, there are poison distribution, right? You should have little clarity about where to use this poison distribution. T test, Z test, chi-square test, right? Normal distribution, right? So coming back to the economics, so this is like a small thing for the statistics. I don't think statistics move beyond that until and unless you are a statistics honor graduate, right? Uh, Moving on to again the monetary policy and the fiscal policy, right? And my approach was always used to read a lot of economics news because since I was the economic honor graduate, and I always used to discuss about those news in the interviews, right? And for example, can you tell me some recent news related to the economy of India or related to the economics or any data you have read so that I can give you a flavor of what type of questions are, can be asked related to that? Anyone, guys? Anyone? All right. No, not an issue. For example, let's say the current situation of telecom sector of India, right? There are major two players, Airtel and Jio, right? But government is pushing so much for the V, right? Vodafone and the Idea merger that happened. Government is pushing V or indirectly supporting them to exist in the market and to not leave the market, right? What would happen if they have left the market and there are just only two players? There is a chance of monopoly being created, right? Right. And there is CCI, Competitive Commission of India, to take care that monopoly must not be created in any market. Same goes with the market with the multiplex cinemas. There are basically major two players, and CI is highly involved to stop those two players and to bring some new players into the market, right? So you can generally ask like if there are just two Airtel and Geo player in the market, and suppose that they created a monopoly, what would happen? What would be its impact on the common citizen, on the common people of India, right? And overall on the GDP of the India and the status of the country, right? When it comes to the economic scenario, right? Same goes with the maybe they can relate to the COVID time. What happened exactly at COVID time, right? Why the interest rates are so high in the economy. So as far as the macroeconomics are concerned, you might be asked questions on the real scenarios, right? Right, or maybe they might relate some news with the economics concept and ask you to analyze or ask you to give your opinions on that. When it comes to the microeconomics, you will be majorly asked questions related to the core concepts of the microeconomics, right? Optimum condition, right? When the profits would be maximized, what is the strategy, price differentiation strategy, first degree, second degree level of price discrimination, and stuff related to that, right? Mota mota, this is the view when it comes to the economics. One thing that the professors really like to ask is the Nobel Prize winner. I would suggest everyone to have a detailed research about this. First thing first, Nobel Prize in Economics has a special name, right? Do research about that, what it is called in the economics. Then do a detailed research about the winners of the economics, at least for the last 2 to 3 years, and a detailed research about the Indians who got Nobel Prize in the economics. I think Amartya Sen and Abhijit Banerjee are the two Indians, only Indians. And also do read in which field they did their research and what exactly their research was. Because I remember someone asked me related the stuff related to the Abhijit Banerjee. I answered that the stuff is related to this thing, but I couldn't answer what exactly he did and what was the result, right? So you should have some detailed knowledge about this thing also. And when it now we will move to economic honors, guys, right? E-commerce. So for the people who are e-commerce graduate and from DU, so basically I am from DU, so I can first share my approach, how I went. Right, first I covered very basic stuff. You can refer to I think in the 11th and 12th I read VKORI. There is book on the economics. I think VKORI, right? Or some Jan was there. Maybe I don't remember. Right. So I started with the 11th and 12th books for the economics and both for the microeconomics and macroeconomics, right? And everything is built on this only. In graduation days, everything is built on this only. So the 11th and 12th book will give you terminologies or basically the name of the topic so that you don't miss anything else. For example, when it comes to the microeconomics, there are a lot of things discussed about the different types of market. So I would say start with that. And same goes with the macroeconomics, right? The basic definitions like different types of money, fiat money, fiduciary money, right? This thing you might not be able to find in the graduation days directly, but these things are of much importance, right? At least you should have some knowledge about the fiat money and the fiduciary money. The question can be as simple as what is the RBI's roles and responsibilities? Why do RBI exist, right? Then comes to the forex market, then open market operations. These are very basic stuff. Start with the 11th and 12th. Make sure that obviously, I hope that those topics would be familiar with you and you know a lot of things are around them, right? Now, when moving to the graduation, right? Uh, Graduation. Just give me one minute. I am looking for my graduation mark sheet to name the topics. Just. Meanwhile, if you have any doubts, you can unmute yourself and ask or put it in the comments, right? Hmm. All right. So we also had one subject as MME, right? Mathematical methods for the economics. So this subject involves a lot of differentiation and integration. You might not be really asked for the differentiation and integration, but just have a look about what exactly is differentiation and integration and the difference between both. And generally, the question can be asked like, if you want to explain or if you have to explain to a 5-year-old kid about the differentiation and the integration, how would you explain it in the simpler terms? So that can be one of the questions, right? Then we have introductory macroeconomics and introductory microeconomics. It's like an slight introduction only. But when it comes to the intermediate microeconomics and macroeconomics, I think these two books, intermediate micro and intermediate macro, right? I think these two books will be enough for you to cover everything and anything that is possible in the micro and the macro, right? I don't think you will need any stuff beyond that. But yes, there do exist a lot of questions that generally the interviewers ask because they really don't know what exactly do you professors teach, right? So for that, I would suggest you to go through the past interview repository or the past interview economics question. You can find that on the Google. You can find on the Telegram also. But mainly when it comes to the microeconomics, so see, when you're starting for the micro and macro, I do understand the syllabus is huge and it puts you in a situation where you have been facing a lot of pressure, how to manage and everything. Let me start by simple thing, right? You can one subject at one time, for example, micro, and you can set a target like you want to cover the whole syllabus in the 4 days, right? In the first days you will do this, in the second days you will do this, third this, fourth this. I think that's pretty simple approach. But what you must do along with this is that you need to create a Word doc where you are putting important things, right? Just copy pasting, just typing, just clicking the image and putting the image there, so that it would be very easy for you before the interviews to cover or to have a look at important topics or the topics which you might forget in the upcoming days, right? The basic stuff need not to be put here, but if you find something special to fetch brownie points or something more and beyond what you exactly know, put it there. Same goes with the macroeconomics, right? You don't really need to read every word in the book, right? Just go with the topic name and read something about that topic. If you don't want to read, just put it in the Google. Google will give you enough information about that. Maybe you can put it in the YouTube or the chat GPT. They will give you enough data around that topic. As far as the micro and microeconomics would is concerned, I would say that uh, don't fall for the trap that you are just limited to your understanding, to your syllabus or something. If I would be the interviewer or something like that, I can ask anything related to the microeconomics. I really don't think that you are from DU or you are from Pune University, Mumbai University or something like that, and your syllabus is this or that, right? So a lot of questions. So first thing, like sharing my experience. So in my first time when I appeared for the interviews, I really don't know anything about the growth model. I knew that it is in the topic, right? But I really didn't read about the growth model because it was in the developmental economics. And for my preparation, I was just limited to micro and macro and some sort of regression, right? Uh, I knew a lot of things around the growth model, or maybe I had some knowledge so that I could globe around that. But then a lot of interviewers asked me about the golden rule. And I was like, that golden rule is in some other subject, hopefully not in the economics syllabus, right? And I was pretty wrong at that point of time. Even I did a research about the golden rule, right? If you put golden rule in the Google, you will find that it is related to some ratio of the face, right? Your face should be in this and this ratio that is considered most beautiful or something like that. But as an economic student, if you are saying all this stuff and you are missing on the important stuff related to the golden rule, which is related to the growth model, then the interviewers might have some doubt in selecting you, right? It's okay if you are just missing on this question. It's completely okay if you're missing on this question, but if you're missing a lot on the very basic stuff, right? For example, the sheet that is sent by the uh, Kushal, right? It has around 50 questions, right? And as an eco grad, you should have knowledge about all the 50 questions. And I would not expect very basic explanation from an e-commerce guy. And what I have seen over the years, or among a lot of candidates, even if they do belong to the economic honors, right, the wording or the way of answering them should be different from a normal guy who is explaining me what exactly RBI is or what exactly RBI do, right? As you have also seen in the economics textbook, there is a different type of wording that is used, right? There is a different style when it comes to the economics writing style. So you should be very fluent about explaining what exactly is marginal cost, what exactly is opportunity cost, right? So stick to these definitions. I would say start early because there is a lot of stuff. Micro and macro both can be overwhelming at some point of time, right? But I would say that maintain like 5 days for this, 5 days for this, and stick to that because anyways you will have to do other stuff, HRQs, current affairs. So please stick to this thing, 5 days, 5 days, and then comes to the regression, right? Since as a eco grad, I would say that the book name is, the course name is Econometrics, but mostly it revolves around the regression, right? And the questions that is generally asked around the regression to economic honor students are basically uh, model, which we use in the regression. I think one variable model or something, it has some special name. Then OLS method, right? And assumption, there are a lot of assumptions, right? That then clarity about what exactly is regression. You might have good knowledge about the definition, but what exactly, why do people use regression? What the result for the regression? What is beta note, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3? How we calculate that? What is error term? What is the significance of error term? Then comes to the R square, right? Then comes to the adjusted R square, right? Then testing the regression, right? Whether beta 1 should be this or not. What test is used to analyze that stuff, right? So have a sense of clarity about that. Also, when it comes to this, they generally do ask, like, for example, if P is 0.05, most of we do know that how to proceed with how to proceed mathematically when P is 0.05. But most of us might not be able to answer what exactly P is equal to 0.05 refers to, or what exactly does it mean, right? So read that type of stuff. Whenever you are reading something, uh, ask yourself, like, if I am reading that about H note, H note is something this, H alternative is this. What exactly is H note? What exactly is HA, right? Why we put not equal sign here and why we put equal sign here? Because I remember that this type of statistic question was asked to my one of my friends, and he was very good at answering all the stuff. But he somehow got confused in the A interview regarding this, and he was rejected. I don't know on what basis, but professors do really expect this type of thing from eco-honors guys. And like, you should be very good. And when it comes to other stuff, I would say that apart from the other current affairs you are following, what major current affairs related to the RBI policies, RBI decisions, maybe related to the taxation structure, right? Maybe related to the GST, maybe related to the fintech. A lot of companies in the fintech space started giving loans to the common citizens without any major conditions, right? They are issuing loan within 5 seconds. What's the impact of that, right? And when it comes to the impact of anything, you must be aware that everything has advantages and disadvantages. So better approach to answer anything would be to tell your view, what could be the possible advantages, what could be the possible disadvantages, right? For example, proliferation of fintech companies, right? Whether it is good for the companies or not, whether it is good for the economy or not, whether it is good for the common citizens or not. What exactly the process is? A lot of neo banks are being opened, right? A lot of NPAs. If you go back 1 year, there are a lot of news around the NPAs. How can bank control them? How can RBI control them? All questions. Matlab, anything can be asked. You just need. Yes. So, where I was? Yeah. So, what exactly is expected from economic honors, guys? Apart from the basic stuff, right? Micro, macro, regression, and everything. And you should have some knowledge about what exactly is going in the world. And apart from that, I would say some knowledge about or some views about everything and anything around you, right? Because basically, when it comes to economics, what I felt that apart from, obviously they would be looking for the conceptual knowledge, but apart from that, they would be more interested in listening to your views about any type of market. For example, when it comes to like theoretical courses in the economics, right? There was development, Indian economy course, and everything, right? So what I did for that is there are a lot of videos on the YouTube uh, around of duration of 2 hours, 3 hours. Go watch that videos and have some clarity about what exactly happened uh, in 1947 to 1975, right? Then 1975 to 1991, 1991 to uh, maybe 2000. Then what happened? Then what happened? uh, some policy decision that is being made, effects of that, problems of that, and everything around that, right? Same goes for this, same goes for this, same goes for this, same goes for this. Then a hot burning question related to the Indian economy, that the China and the India got independence around the same time, but why China grew exponentially as compared to the India? What they did differently, right? I used to read a lot about China, India, not exactly their political structure or something, but their political decisions or the decisions they took for their economy. China, India. I also read about Singapore. Because if you watch the video or some articles about the how the Singapore got so much development, right? Singapore at the time of independence, I think it was around 1940s, maybe 1950s, right? Singapore had a lot of poverty, lot of debts, lot of rape cases, right? And Singapore was worse than India and China for sure, right? Their living condition was very poor. But now Singapore is like one of the finest countries. What exactly they did different, right? Then read more about IMF, World Bank, right? And some entities in India, some organizations in India related to the economics. Who heads the IMF? Who heads the World Bank? Right? What exactly is the difference between the IMF and the World Bank? Right? Read something about South African countries, why they are so poor, right? Read some top five richest countries, top five poorest countries, right? What exactly is their situation? Then there are a lot of wars going on, right? Why the prices or why the India suffered so much due to the Russia-Ukraine war, and why India is not suffering that much when it comes to the recent Israel war. What's the difference between the both, right? Why the world is not talking about the recent war? The world was talking a lot about the Russia-Ukraine war. Why our supply chain is related to the Russia-Ukraine war? What exactly do import? What exactly do we export? Right? A lot of questions are asked about what goods India export and what good India import and from which country, right? Have some knowledge around that, right? Apart from that, mm, 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 apart from that, you can they might ask you like what government did differently in the last 5 years. What's your views on the GST? Why demonetization failed, right? And maybe have some good handhold over the statistics data and then there is different type of analysis, quality based analysis, right? Based on the health of the nation, right? Some Scandinavian countries, right? Why they are so happy. Have a look on the happiness index, poverty index, and the ranking of the India top nations when it comes to the happiness index, poverty index, right? India's GDP is at the third in the real terms and fifth in the nominal terms, but India's per capita income is so low. I think India is at 121 or around this, right? In the last 30 or 40 countries, maybe, right? HDI index, right? There are a lot of index, right? Do read about them. And now I might show you my notes, what exactly I prepared or how did I prepare for the economics. Might not give you a complete idea, right? Major things I have mentioned here, but I can show you that how I used to make Word documents for my preparation, Word, Google Sheets. And I would advise you to prepare your own stuff, right? Don't ask me to share the stuff because anyways I can share that, but it might not be of very much importance to you. So for example, okay, this is academics, right? Are you able to see the screen? Just give me a minute. New share. Which screen? Yeah, this one. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. So let's see the game theory, right? We all know about game theory and what exactly is prisoner dilemma, right? But I included a lot of examples around husband wife, right? Crispy sweet, or right? Then onion prices rose when there was excess rain in Nasik. So it is not all about the game theory. That is different news, right? So why I mentioned this thing is that whenever I had discussion about how microeconomics and macroeconomics is related, right? I can give an example that quoting that onion prices rose when there was excess rain in Nasik, right? And that news or that information started from the micro level and it became global or at least national news. And its impact can be seen within few days, right? And I was from banking sector, so a little knowledge about scheduled banks and everything, right? Banks paid up capital, what exactly is scheduled and what exactly is non-scheduled banks. Then news around Russia is a part of opaque plus not opaque. Then countries in the opaque. See, I do know what exactly is correlation, right? But many of you might not be able to explain what exactly is correlation. You can't just say that it is relation between two variables or something like that. So I thought of making some good definitions or coping some good definitions here. Again, regression, right? Three methods, right? See, GDP is better than GNP. You might ask which thing is better, GDP or GNP, to analyze a country, because GDP represents the outputs and services produced within the domestic territory of the nation, right? Then PSB might not be related to you. Then see, uh, if you want to reduce the inflation, what policies can you bring, right? Then who is Keynes? What exactly Keynes did? Then some details about IMF, some details about the World Bank, right? You can see that if you know this stuff, right, you can globe around IMF, right? It is a monetary fund, international fund. A lot of countries contribute to that to help each other in the situation of any crisis or something. But if you are mentioning that its stated mission is working to foster global monetary cooperation, secure financial stability, facilitate international trade. So if you're adding just this word, its stated mission, so I would get an idea that yes, this candidate knows a little about the difference between IMF and World Bank. And World Bank is completely different. They are not the same, right? Uh, See, this information would be very helpful. The World Bank has two stated goals it aims to achieve by 2030. These are the goals, right? Then World Trade Organization, its objectives, World Economic Forum, United Nations. Because I am writing so much things, I learned all those things. The reason being, I exactly don't know what the interviewers will ask me. Obviously, I do know that they will ask one or two organizations if they want, but exactly I don't know which organization or which type of questions would be they asking me, right? Some major economic performance indicators, economic growth, inflation, unemployment, current account, XDI, all those can be good parameters when it comes to assess health of an economy, right? Then some questions related to the regression analysis, right? Monopolies. These are some random stuff because whatever I found interesting or something that I don't know, I used to put that, right? So as I mentioned, I had little clarity over the regression. To learn more, I put all those stuff. This is completely regression based, right? Yes. Elasticity of substitution was something that I was not aware about. I read that. Then F test, YF test is there. Game theory application. So they can ask you, okay, you know game theory. What is it? What is its real time applications or something like that? Okay. Then eight industry that India takes into account to calculate the GDP. If you're mentioning all this stuff, right, then it sounds very good and very, I would say, professional, right? uh, Gini coefficient, Lorentz curve, everything, right? Countries, I might have put something, yes. So the US Gini coefficient is this, India's Gini coefficient is this, Lorentz curve, J curve, right? You can see that J curve, all this stuff are part of what Kushal has sent, right? 50 questions list, right? Impossible Trinity in international economics, right? Then in economic, we have Stackelberg model, Bertrand competition, right? Have some clarity about this. Then forward contract, future contracts, right? When you are setting up a business, what are the basic steps to set up the business, right? Some mutual funds, these are related to the my banking, right? Then 90, obviously they can ask you 1979 oil crisis or some past events, depression of 1920, then Asian crisis, then Great Recession, right? Then the countries which suffered hyperinflation, why did they suffer? I also used to put some YouTube links so that it would be easy to navigate whenever I want to read more about this. I remember one candidate was asked on the Lebanese liquidity crisis, China. property crisis. China property crisis is a recent topic, right? So let me show you something more if I do have. Just give me. I hope you are there with me, following me, right? Okay, just give me. Yes, so you can see this is macro, this is econometrics. All right, there are others, but let's focus on these as of now. For example, when it comes to the macroeconomics, right? Um, Again, this is some stuff related to the natural unemployment, right? Consequences of deficient AD, inflationary gap. Then they can exactly ask you list out some things related to the revenue receipts and tax and non-tax receipts, what exactly does come. So you might be able to tell that like there are income tax, GST, but beyond that, sometimes it becomes difficult to think in the interview room. So why not to practice much before, list down income, corporation, gift tax, and everything. Maybe you can read more about the gift tax, right? I think in the some countries, maybe US or maybe some other countries, gift tax is so high. I think in India we don't have any inheritance tax, but there exists inheritance tax also, right? Uh, Foreign exchange market focused on. So my basic crux would be that whatever you are reading, if you feel that okay, after the one time read you will be able to remember all the stuff, then it's good to go. But if you feel that you need like uh something to note and everything, make Google Doc, and if you find something interesting related to the news, related to the economics or some concepts, keep putting the stuff there and make it personalized, right? Don't make it in groups because these things might be sound very simple for you, but I thought that to put it here, right? So the views can be completely different. Uh, so here goes the econometrics note, right? Econometry is this is a simple definitions because what I observed that they do ask simple definitions also. So starting with the simple definitions, starting with the assumptions. Yes, Gauss Markov theorem, blue, right? Best linear unbiased estimator. Then what is coefficient of determination, right? TSS, ESS, RSS. I hope you are familiar with all of these. Law of large number, central limit theorem, right? So I don't think there is anything much to cover beyond this when it comes to econometrics, right? These simple, concise notes can help you a lot before the interviews. Believe me that 2 or 3 days before the interviews, you will have a lot of stuff, right? Current affairs, this and that, HRQs. I think HRQs, current affairs that you can explain in on any day, right? HRQs you can make then and there during your interview. Current affairs, you might put some data, you might show some interest, you might not have proper knowledge. But when it comes to econometrics, the case is whether you know the stuff or whether you don't. For example, if they ask what is blue in econometrics, if you don't know, you can't answer that, right? So that is all from my side, right? Basically. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take that.
Hey,
Hi.
can you hear me?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
my course was a mix of economics, sociology, and political science. We had like basics of everything, but we never really delved into the more, like the intermediate stuff as well.
What
But in
exactly
a couple
is
of,
the course
huh?
name?
For example, I had like, very basic micro and macro. The kind say, suppose you get a Udemy course, it'll all be covered, externality, this, that, but nothing like beyond that point. It was just one
What
subject a
exactly is
semester.
the
So
course name?
it's a BA, political science, sociology, and economics, a general one. So it's not
Okay, okay.
like,
So if I like what I can suggest is that if there is BA and especially related to the economy, this political
hmm
science and other subjects, so I think the
hmm,
interviewers will get an idea about okay, you are not comfortable or you don't know a lot of things about the economics, but basic things like GDP, right?
hmm,
Maybe different
hmm,
methods related to the GDP. they
Hmm.
will surely ask you. Obviously, you are not a BCOM or eco grad, so they
Yeah.
will not go deeper or maybe to ISLM curve, in my opinion.
Okay.
But
Mm-hmm.
I believe like when it comes to microeconomics, there is not much difference, right? Except the game theory and everything. But for
Okay.
example,
Mm.
marginal cost, marginal benefit, right?
Yeah,
How
these all
to
were
find
covered.
the optimum condition when it comes to perfect competition, right?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So these are some of the basic stuff. And when it comes to macroeconomics, basically you need to focus on the fiscal policy and the monetary policy. How do that?
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yes.
So, like, suppose they do end up asking like a little more advanced questions, will it won't be a mark against me, right? It's been 3 years since I graduated also. If like I don't know some of the more advanced stuff and I just outright tell them that it was never covered
Two things
in
can
my
happen.
time then.
What I can surely or maybe with confidence can say that obviously they would not judge you based on that if you are not aware about the advanced stuff, right? If they ask you,
Okay.
let's talk about ISLM. You need
Hmm.
to clear some things out. If they are
Okay.
pretending you something like you are coming from economics background, sir, I
Uh,
had economics as one subject, right?
hmm.
Which
Hmm.
helped me to know some basics of things or how the policies work, but
Hmm.
I really didn't get the chance, or we really didn't have it in syllabus about the ISLM curve and everything. So you are making
Hmm.
yourself clear, but
Okay. Hmm.
interviewers can play a devil role there, and they can
Okay.
grill you on that. So when they
Okay.
start grilling you, or then when they are asking 4 or 5 questions, even after knowing that you don't know the stuff,
Mm-hmm.
then how you are dealing with that situation matters a lot rather than you answering the questions, right?
Acha.
Don't
Okay.
show that you completely giving up on the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least put something that you know, right? Even if you don't know how the ISLM works, right? Sir, I
Okay.
believe that monetary policies are for to control the interest rates or to control the situation in the economy, right? Or maybe
Mm-hmm.
related with some current affairs, if you know, right?
Acha. Hmm.
But exactly, I
Okay.
don't know. Again, if they ask something like forex market or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I have basic idea about the balance of payments or how the foreign exchange works, right? How the foreign currency prices are decided, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know
Okay.
much things about what goes in the background or what exactly is the
All
effect.
right.
Yes,
Okay. Okay, I'll try that. Thank you.
sure. All right, we are ending the session. Thank you for your time.